Good evening. Today, the case against a Hearts fan accused of carrying out a sectarian attack on the Celtic manager Neil Lennon during a football match was found not proven. Instead, John Wilson was found guilty of breach of the peace by running onto the pitch at Tynecastle last May, where thousands of football fans witnessed Wilson shouting and swearing at the Celtic manager. Celtic Football Club said this evening they find the acquittal of the charge of assault difficult to comprehend. Revel Alderson has this report.
The midweek match at Tynecastle was highly charged. Celtic needed to win to maintain their challenge for the league title. Outside, there was evidence of tension between rival fans. Inside, BBC reporters heard sectarian chanting from both sides. This was from the Hearts fans. Then, with Celtic having scored their second goal, John Wilson was seen clearly leaping the barrier onto the pitch and running towards Neil Lennon. In court, Wilson admitted to lunging at Lennon in front of 16,000 fans. He admitted breach of the peace, but he denied using the words "feeny" and "bastard," which would have meant the offences were sectarian, an aggravation which would have carried a more severe sentence. The jury here at Edinburgh Sheriff Court took the sectarian element out of the breach of the peace charge, but they acquitted Wilson completely on the charge of assault which they'd witnessed on video, a verdict which has baffled senior lawyers.
Revel Alderson there. Well, with me now, the QC, Paul McBride. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. Paul, what do you make of the verdict?
The verdict is completely and utterly inexplicable. This was a well-presented prosecution case. He was seen live on television assaulting Neil Lennon. He admitted in evidence lunging towards Neil Lennon. He wrote Neil Lennon a letter of an apology, and his own counsel accepted the only issue at the trial was whether he used inappropriate language. Against that background, of all of that, they acquit him of the assault that he admitted. The verdict is utterly inexplicable. I haven't met a single lawyer or layperson tonight who can understand this verdict.
But you must have, when you've been in court, had verdicts you didn't expect.
Yeah, all the time, and that's the function of a jury, and that's why we respect what jurors do. I've never heard of a case where an accused person has admitted a crime, the jury is told by his own counsel he accepts that part of the charge, but the jury still let him off. So it's quite baffling tonight, and I think it's cast rather a long shadow on the Scottish legal system this evening.
Well, do you think it is that significant that, presumably because very few people have interactions with the courts, and this is so high profile, and people will be surprised by the jury verdict, do you think this actually could do some damage to court reputation?
It does some damage. It's also more troubling than that. The Lord Advocate has put a huge amount of effort into tackling sectarian crime. This government has put a huge amount of effort into tackling sectarian crime. First Minister Rosanna Cunningham doing their very best. Verdicts like this undermine it, and that's why all the political parties have to get together and support the SNP in their quest to put this kind of activity to bed.
Was the fact, though, that a sectarian element was part of both charges, he faced it, do you think that muddied the waters in any way and was counterproductive, or is that not the case?
Absolutely not. It's simple. The jury decide whether the sectarian element remains or not. If it doesn't remain, they delete it. What they should have done, if they're not satisfied in the sectarian element, is return a verdict of guilty of assault under deletion of those words. It's perfectly simple.
And fairly briefly, if you don't mind, Paul, I mean, does this again open up the question about whether or not we should be able to talk to jurors about why they make the choices they make?
Yes, there's an issue about that. In Scotland, we have juries who don't have to read, who don't have to write, who don't have to count, and may be full of prejudices. Unlike other countries, we may have to revisit this area again.
Paul McBride, thank you very much indeed
for
that. Thank you.